Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, all Nigerians that have subscribed to various grants. Good afternoon to our stakeholders. Good afternoon to many grant facilitators, fondly called grant handlers. Good afternoon to genuine destiny helpers of Nigerians that paid good fortunes across many years, roughly a decade today, roughly above a decade today, roughly 8, 9 years ago. Some joined in this grant subscription endeavor since 5 years ago. Me personally, Pastor Charles, I joined in the year 2018, March precisely, the month of March precisely, after a good friend of mine that used to work as a staff in First Bank First Bank PLC Nigeria begged me severally to join for over a year. I refused to join. I gave him my reasons not to join. He continued to beg me. So as he continued to beg me, then I joined in the month of March 2018 against my will. He asked me for my bank details. I gave to him. I thought he wanted to just do a little giveaway to me. Then unknowingly to me, he used me and registered me in the then same social exchange market grants program. That was where he registered me. So as he registered me, then he later on informed me that he has registered me in this thing. I said, well, no problem. So I'm greeting us, no matter how long you've joined, no matter how recent you've joined us in this struggle. My greetings go to you this very afternoon, Sunday being the 9th day of August 2026. There is some things I want to open our eyes to. Yes, people that have the grace to see far, to see beyond empirical facts, that are associating themselves with this grand struggle, they already know some of these things I'm going to say. And largely those that don't have the grace to see far are not aware of what is going on as far as this grant is concerned. Of a truth, it is only a novice that believes that Nigeria is a democratic state. Nigeria is not a democratic nation. Nigeria is a dictatorial state, a dictatorial nation, a place where if someone says the truth, if God is not with you, if you don't have international nexus, you don't have international multilateral good friends and good wishers that uphold truth in all ramification, that can be able to stand by your side when power brokers, when oligarchs that broker power in this nation start calling for your head. If you don't have such people to stand beside you, you go in for it. But thank God for the grace of God that keeps on covering his people, covering those that heaven has already mandated with the ministry of speaking the truth, no matter the thickness of the plot against them or around them. So this very afternoon, as a voice that says the truth, whenever I'm mandated by the Spirit of God to come out to say the truth, there are things I want to open your eyes to. First of all, Nigeria is not a democratic state. And that is why whenever someone speaks an uncomfortable truth to power, you see many Lilliputians, many demonized people, people that treasure so much in darkness, starts calling for the person's head. But regardless of their efforts, God Almighty in the book of Jeremiah chapter number 20 and 21 has already raised us as battle axe to break them in pieces, battle axe to destroy them, battle axe to root out all their structures in such a way that no matter how they plot, they don't get to us. No matter how they plot, all their plots in their secret covens, God does unveil them before us. And when God unveils them, the Spirit of God mandates us to share it across. Then we share it across. So, as a dictatorial nation that Nigeria is, where oppression, suppression thrive, it is against the unwritten rule of Nigeria that grants be disbursed. There is an unwritten law in Nigeria that hates financial empowerment of Nigerians, average Nigerians. This unwritten law treasures in seeing Nigerians breaking the limits of pain and penury righteously. I hope you are getting what I'm. So that's law being inspired by the adherents of Satanism. So they are against you and I coming up, becoming a millionaire, a multi-millionaire, talk more of a billionaire without soiling our hands. As a result of that, they themselves don't allow things like this to freely get to the people. So they fight, they struggle to get these funds disbursed to millions of Nigerians across the length and breadth of this nation, regardless of our tribal leanings, regardless of our religious fraternities, regardless of our color, regardless of our differences. Why this thing has not seen the light of the day, I mean, the grants fund disbursements, is never because of absence of funds. It's never because of the bigness of protocols geared towards disbursement or adhering to the due process of disbursement. No, that is never the cause. The case is this: the powers that be, the darkness that govern Nigeria, that Nigerian leaders, Nigerian states, actors and actresses willfully gave their souls to, is against the massive financial empowerments of our citizens. So automatically, this kind of mission should be dead on arrival. This kind of mission should be what? Dead on arrival because of this. So the reason why there is still a glimmer of hope is because of a supernatural involvement. It is the will of God Almighty for this thing to happen. No matter many years of failures, many grants have come into Nigeria. Many grants keep on coming into Nigeria, but it is a classified undertaking by the Nigerian states to make it uneasy for grants, grant projects to be able to made known to Nigerians, and the processes undertaken duly, very transparently, without what we've been experiencing over the years. So I'm doing this thing to prepare your mind for you to be able to see the bigness of the battle we are in. The bigness of what the battle we are in. Have you asked yourself, why is it that every genuine person that has the burning desire to see these funds disbursed to the people, when the person comes on the national spotlight, the person turns to slow seller? Whenever the person comes on board, that burning desire for the people turns to what? To slow selling. And you now see them antagonizing the people, see them cursing the people, see them telling you how Nigerians are not worthy to be died for. Nigerians are not worthy for anybody to die for them. Then why did you realize this midway into the struggle? You didn't realize it when you were at your home, when you were rooting for the support of Nigerians to contribute funds to you. You didn't realize that Nigerians are not worthy to be died for. Yet, you undertook the mandate of fighting for Nigerians. And as you midway into your fight, then you now realize that Nigerians are not worthy to die for. All these statements like these are not ordinary. They are not what ordinary. It is also because of the manipulation, or not even also. It is because majorly because of the manipulation of the schemas of the system, the schemas of the darkness that rules Nigeria, that make people to come up with this kind of statement and now turn them into what? Slot selling. Because of that, every genuine subscriber that has subscribed to various grants many years ago without getting any particular of them paid must disregard every form of slot selling, every form of call for you to bring out your money, no matter how small that your money is. Use it for something else. Go to streets and dash it to beggars instead of you to come out to what? Keep on subscribing. Even in the latest now, the one from Reverend Moses. The Reverend Moses, I respect him so much. I still respect him. I love him. I still love him. But I can never say, because of the love I have for him, the respect I have for him, not to say the truth when he's erring. So Reverend Moses is now among the latest victims of this gross darkness that governs Nigeria. And that is why he's now perching on telling gullible fellows to bring out their hard-earned money, to bring out their money for subscription. Remember that the person that has come to Reverend Moses and promised him of grand subscription opportunity, that same person, or that same person's spirit, the spirit that has possessed that person, is also the spirit that possessed those that promised Apostle Ken, Apostle Theophilus, or Grant Pressure Group of giving them these funds to disburse. It is the same spirit that is running in the person that has promised Reverend Moses of a slot, that has made Reverend Moses to what? To be telling people to bring out their funds for more subscription. So there's nothing new. There's nothing to cheer on. That is in what the Reverend Moses and his cohorts are marketing. So you shouldn't get yourself excited about the opportunity they are brandishing. Because of what? There is a vacuum in Reverend Moses' brain. There is a vacuum in the soul of Reverend Moses. There is so much vacuums in the soul of this guy, Omaru, Yakubu, the impostor, that these men often capitalize on. When they capitalize, when they hack into this vacuum, they now start talking down on the likes of Apostle Ken, start talking down on the likes of Apostle Theophilus, start talking down on those other guys that have merchandised grants to all of us and we subscribe to. So when they hack into this vacuum, they start talking down, telling them how those ones don't have grants certificate, they don't have papers backing up their grants, that they are just scamming Nigerians. So based on the little mindedness that they've seen within the mental horizons of these men, they now tell them, oh yeah, we have the access to the funds. With the funds can only come out through us, and we are going to give it to you to disburse. So go and get data. Go and tell people to register. Then these ones now, based on the fact that they are little minds, they now start running helter-skelter, confusing themselves, confusing more Nigerians to come and pay for them to subscribe. And these people are part and parcel of the federal governments of Nigeria by omission or by commission. The people that are eating these funds, the people that are collecting these monies from them, are part of this current world government. And that is why, no matter the heftiness of crime, fraudulent crime caused by absence of grants documents and extortion of these grants facilitators, none of them has been jailed. None of them what has been jailed. Abocheno has not been jailed for the grant he marketed. And when Abocheno tried to undertake Apostle Theophilus, Abocheno ended up coming to apologize to Apostle Theophilus, even after Apostle Theophilus being convicted by the courts of competence jurisdiction in quotes that he does not have any grants to give to Nigerians. Yet, after the seizures of his properties, after the seizures of a 1 million naira fund, according to Abocheno, in his bank account, yet the hunter has become the hunted. Abocheno, that celebrated victory in the court of law, now comes back to apologize to what? Apostle Theophilus. Have you seen it? So the fraudulent nature of these grants, whatever, these grant programs, is state facilitated. Is what? State facilitated. So there is some people that are parts of this government. There are some people that are parts and parcel of the political oligarchy in Nigeria that are hashing into the gullibility of Nigerian masses, collecting these funds, subscription fees from these people, these merchandisers, promising them that they are the ones that will pay the funds, they are the ones that will disburse, bringing their heads and the heads of Apostle Ken, Theophilus together, hitting them together, bringing the heads of the so-called Madam Supreme, and jam. When they jam together, after jamming them together, they now say that they are the ones that will disburse. And those ones will be bragging and parading themselves that they have the contact, they have the connection. All the contacts they have, all the connections they have, all the monies they've paid. How markets? Have they been given any fund to disburse? No. Are they now wiser? Because chronically, they ought to have realized this, that see, oh, these people are just playing on our intelligence. They are manipulating our souls, spirit and spirits. So have they become wiser till now? No, they've not. If this one now crash, this Reverend Moses movement now crash, other sets of people will still come up and tell you that that you shouldn't mind Reverend Moses and his cohorts, that they are now the ones that they have a project, a grant program, they are giving so and so little amount of money, that their own is palliative or whatever whatever they call it, they will call the name, and you still see many people running hectare scatter to subscribe. What is the way forward? Do not subscribe again. Insist on the ones you've paid. You know, so sometimes I used to wonder, how is it that the brains of many Nigerians in this grand stuff don't work? Have you stayed quietly and listened to Omaru speaks? Omaru Yakubu. What does Omaru Yakubu have? What is his mental metal that will be enough to convince you to bring out your money and give to him? Omaru has never succeeded in making the disbursement to take place. Then, disbursement of those ones that you've spent your hard-earned monies on, he's now trying to make you convince that when you pay this one will be disbursed to you. Have you heard his letters memo that around 30th of this August, that grant handlers, those that have marketed grants across board, will be bringing out their documents for verification? Have you heard the letters from him? That is to show you the littleness of his brain. He has not asked himself the nitty-gritty of the World Press Conference held by Reverend Moses and the then Grand Community Decide movement. What was it all about? Grand facilitators came, championed by Reverend Elomama, and he presented his document. After with what has happened, yet he's still calling on people, he's still preparing his mind for a repetition of cycle. A repetition of cycle in circles methodology that has never profited us anything. That is to show you how myopic he is as a person. Which made me to wonder, say, why would Apostle Ken be giving this guy an audience in the first place? Is it because of intimidation that he's a serviceman? If he's a serviceman and Apostle Ken is in short supply of service people, why wouldn't Apostle Ken let me know? By the special grace of God, my elder brother is a high-ranked military officer, and I have access to military men and paramilitary men in Nigeria. I have access to men. I mean men, because in Nigeria now, a lot of people have access to weapons because the political class has balkanized Nigeria's security architecture and making security to litter across board. So nobody should be able to intimidate you for being a serviceman or woman. As far as Nigeria today is concerned, even by extension, other parts of the world. So is it because of this guy parading himself as a service person that is making Apostle Ken to be afraid of him and be giving him audience without sampling, even from afar, sampling his mental capability and know that this guy is a little mind? He has nothing to offer. Yes, English is not our mother tongue. I don't even pride. If I have good command of the use of language, I don't pride in it. But when you look at this guy cannot make 2 to 3 sentences without a plethora of errors. Why would someone like Apostle Ken give him an audience in the first place? So that is just to show you that he's nobody. And that is why the schemers, the people in the system, causing the fraudulent, incessant grant subscription, are using them. So the monies, the contribution you are making for him, in as much as he has given you a tip of the iceberg, if you can be able to rationalize quickly and realize the place is heading to, you know that by the 30th of August, you are not even sure of disbursement, because he is planning that grant handlers should come out and bring out their grant documents. And he parades himself as someone that has traveled far and near, made some investigations about these very grants. He's now talking of A.A. Musa. Who is A.A. Musa? Are you aware that A.A. Musa and his, although A.A. Musa cannot accuse him of being a party to this thing I'm about to say, but you are aware that A.A. Musa was aware of how the office of late Professor Brahmi Olajire was invaded, how they invaded his office immediately they heard the news of his death. He died today. Then the following day, they invaded his office, locking to have access for that grant document, yet they couldn't lay hold on the grant documents. And even the A.A. Musa that sued Apostle Ken, reported Apostle Ken to perhaps force the headquarters in Abuja, telling Apostle Ken to come and show a certificate that shows he is a signatory to the grant. A.A. Musa himself, what certificate did he hold, did he show that validated his argument against Apostle Ken? Though I didn't know when this thing was happening. If not, I would have asked Apostle Ken to demand for a document from him, so that there shall be a cross session of inquiries from him to dispute the involvement of Apostle Ken in the procurement of UAS grant funds. So I'm saying this thing not to support any negative claim or any false claim from Apostle Ken, or any false a claim from the proponents of Apostle Ken that he is part of the procurement of UAS grant. I'm saying it to prove to Omaru that even A.A. Musa is nobody. A.A. Musa that he is now running to, that is making him to be talking from the both sides of his mouth, claiming of having contacts. As far as this disbursement is concerned, A.A. Musa is nobody. He is nothing to write home about. Had it be that A.A. Musa is somebody, A.A. Musa and his likes that saw Professor Brahimi, that we are privileged to come close to Professor Brahimi as the ultimate proponents of this grand struggle, I mean the UAS grand struggle, they ought to have been handed the baton over to, and they ought to have built from the foundation, noble foundation that the late professor laid for them. But for the fact that they were bent on their nominal, narrow, incriminating tendencies, they couldn't, since that time this man died, he died in the year 2018. Even CSP, late CSP Beatrice Mbodudu died before him. The thing that separated them was their death was 1 week or 2 weeks. So since aftermath of the man's death, the lives of A.A. Musa could have continued to fostering the good efforts of this very man, but he couldn't. So Omaru, don't brag with you having access with A.A. Musa. The only thing you keep on getting at the end of the day is just lies, promise upon promise, and you functioning as a tool to keep on extorting from the people, to giving someone in any government parastatal that will keep on promising you of disbursement. Conclusively, we have heard repeatedly that IMF is involved in this grant pursuit. And by the special grace of God, as someone that is privileged to be seen, to see beyond the empirical data, I can say that, yes, it is true they're involved. IMF is involved. Any person that had been having doubts about the involvement of IMF, don't doubt again. IMF is involved in this grand pursuit. Beth, I want you to be very much careful now. Beth, don't stake your confidence in IMF 100%. IMF, I believe that this VN is going to go far. Those that hired them, those that made this passionate plea to IMF to help us in this fight, those that contracted other international bodies that are going to listen to these voice notes or that are already listening to these voice notes, I want you to tell IMF this thing now that I'm about to say. If at all we are going to have supreme confidence in them, that they are among the soldiers that God Almighty has raised to make disbursement to happen now. Because as for disbursement must happen. It is a must. There's no going back. So if they genuinely have presented themselves as among the tools God will use to make this disbursement happen, look at what IMF must do. In the year 2019, a firm from the UK, an oil and gas firm from the UK called Process and Industrial Development Limited, a Virgin Island registered company from the UK, entered a deal, an oil and gas deal with the federal government, and they committed huge sums of money. Although within a short while, it was discovered that the so-called representative of the federal government started playing pranks on them, failing to deliver on their own side of the deal. This UK firm committed $9 billion in this deal. A whopping $9 billion in this deal to be having an unbridled access to oil and gas within the Niger Delta area of the nation. So they didn't know that the people that claim to be the representatives of federal government were fraudsters, that they didn't deliver the funds, they didn't deliver the contractual papers to the government coffers, to federal government coffers. So do you know what happened? As they started playing pranks, promising the commencements of this oil and gas drilling to this UK firm, as they continue to play on this UK firm's intelligence repeatedly. So what happened? In the year 2019, this UK firm sued them, sued these the representatives of federal governments of Nigeria. And do you know what? To tell you that the government was still party of the fraud. So the government couldn't provide those agents, those fraudulent agents. So what the government did was, among other things they did, they fronted their own lawyers, the lawyers that represented them in this lawsuit. So a judge, a judge from the UK delivered a verdict in the year 2019 and got frozen all the Nigerians' assets in UK that amounted to $9 billion and handed the assets over to this Process and Industrial Development Limited. In short form, they call them P&ID firm from UK. So they handed these assets over to them for them to recoup the money they invested. So in 2019, then these people now started making use of these Nigerian assets. They made use of this Nigerian asset for 4 solid years. Then in a landmark ruling in the year 2023, October precisely, 2023, then the judgment was now overturned when all the needed evidences were brought forward by the federal government to show that the people didn't pay the money into federal government treasuries. So another UK court then nullified the ruling and now handed the assets back to federal government. But all these things were what? Stage managed. Because you ask yourself, why couldn't the federal government pursue the case vigorously after the verdicts had been given to the UK firm in 2019? They had to wait till 2023 before the case would be reversed. So they did it because it was paramount that the people that invested, the UK firm that invested, must recoup their money back. And they used that 4 years to recoup their money. So why I'm saying this thing is this. Any person telling you that since IMF is involved and they've agreed with the federal government on the disbursement of these grants for several times, and federal government kept on flouting on the agreements, flouting on dates that is sacred. There's no responsible person on the face of the earth that toys with dates, delivery dates of a goal, any goal that you embark on. You don't joke with the date you give to that goal. You don't do what? You don't joke. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about it. A call entered, a call filtered in, so the thing disrupted my distance. It disrupted the voice note, so I'm so sorry about it. I didn't intend to cut it like this, even though that the voice note has gone far. I'm just doing it to buttress some important things. These so much important things we must know and we must act on it. A wise man says, an advice is what you give to people that pretend that they don't know. So the people that's hired IMF officials in this journey, those that reported to them, let them do this thing. There's no wisdom in telling people to be praying or asking people to pray. The federal government and IMF have fixed a date. So as they fix the date, let that date stand. No, there's nothing like that. Nigeria is a dictatorial state, like I told you people initially. Nigeria is a lawless place because laws in Nigeria respect the elites. When the elites go against the law becomes what? Toothless against them. But when an ordinary person goes against the law, that is now when you see that the law serves the interest of the elites to suppress and oppress the ordinary person. So there's no need for you to pray and believe that your prayer is going to work in a lawless place like Nigeria in this kind of situation, considering the contextual position of what we're in, as those that are rightly obliged to receive their return on investments on several grants they registered. A biblical portion says, what shall the righteous do if the foundation is destroyed? And there's no answer to this very question. There's no direct answer to this very question, except when you stay, you take your time and rationalize. With the help of the Holy Spirit, you find out the accurate answer and answers to questions like this. Accurate answer and answers to questions like this. I believe so much in prayer. And by God's grace, I'm a prayer warrior. By God's grace, I'm a prayer warrior. I have been in the place of prayer and I heard God spoke to me severally on the solution to these lingering dates of disbursement that federal government of Nigeria feast and flouts. They fix the dates and they allow the dates to falter. It is an intentional something. They do it intentionally in line with what the programming, the way they've programmed Nigeria. Many police officers, many pensioners, many civil servants that have ended up amounting to nothing, totaling in their millions, that serve the Nigerian states, couldn't amount to anything because of this same scheming. A scheme never to allow the masses to flourish, a scheme to never to allow the masses to prosper. Let prosperity be exclusively reserved, remain exclusively reserved to the elites. That is the reason why pensioners died without being fulfilled. Many civil servants are working, yet they have nothing to cheer on. They have nothing what to cheer on. They have nothing to cheer on. So it is by design. It is an intentional urination of the people's financial destinies. So you don't expect this thing to be cured by prayer. Any person that is telling you to be praying, the person is a religious bigot. The person is a hypocrite. The person is a profoundly dishonest person. So if IMF, as I believe, are bent on helping us to see these grants disbursed, firstly, this disbursement is long overdue. What IMF must do is this: let them petition federal government of Nigeria to higher authorities. There are higher authorities in the world. There are higher authorities that when they sneeze, Nigeria catches cold. When these higher authorities in the world sneeze, Nigeria what catches cold. Like in the case of this process and industrial developmental developments limited P&ID firm in UK. So just mirror what they did, even though that's There's a fishy undertone involved in their contractual agreements with those agents of federal government. But the best thing is just to mirror what they did. Petition Nigerian government to higher authorities. When you petition Nigerian government to higher authorities, you will see within 1 week, within 2 weeks, you will see them, they will cough out these funds in its totality. Because if you are waiting on these people to pay this money through diplomacy, you will wait till eternity. The latest, when I was praying, the latest information I got from my place of prayer is this: they are planning to make disbursement happen around November, in such a way that as they make the disbursement happen, it will just be close, very much close to the electionary time. And people will be attributing Tinubu's government for releasing the funds, for making disbursement a reality. And by extension, they will now use it to score undue political credits, of which such thing can never work. It can never work. Imagine the way they reason. Imagine that their reason lacks compassion. They don't reason with their conscience. How would you, after delaying the payments of these funds, after delaying disbursements for many years, then when you now release it prior to election, very close to election, then you now think that people will forget the hurt, the wounds, the pain and penury, the sufferings you've inflicted on them for the sake of causing them to suffer and feel pain. Then they now come out and vote for you. Who does that? Who does that? As if the ones they are there in their political offices, that they are there through voting. What will happen in next election in Nigeria? It is not the vote of the people that will decide. Likewise, what happened in 2023? It's just that what happened in 2023 favored the elites. But what will happen in 2027 election will favor the masses. There shall be absolute clamp down on law and order. There shall be chaos, absolute chaos come next election. Absolute what? Chaos. I'm not prophesying. I'm telling you what will happen, what must happen. Absolute chaos. So your vote will be relevant. So any person that is waiting for this grant to be paid so that he will use these grants and motivate people to vote for the person will wait. The person will wait until the person crash. The person must surely crash. So they don't have any plan on ground to make disbursement happen soon. And if these IMF representatives are truly saddled in their conscience with the welfare of the people, let them take up federal government. We heard that there's a procurement of court order that IMF will be the ones to effect disbursement as usual, as federal government fails, which they failed. And if they pick up another date, they will still fail. They will continue to fail till November. So if there's anything like that, yes, from Monday, let IMF commence disbursement because they can commence. They have the authority to commence, because this money, these funds does not belong to Nigerian government. It is not from Nigeria GDP. Neither is it from a fund or attracted by the government of Nigeria. I didn't be that these funds, the government of Nigeria attracted it. It can never get to the masses. The political class would have shared it. And see, let me tell you, the funds we're expecting, in case those doubting Thomases, the funds we're expecting, this disbursement belong to United African States. A consortium of financial donations over the years by spirited individuals and some generous nations of the world, coupled with some remittances made out of the fortunes of the continent of Africa for the massive industrialization of the continent of Africa. So the funds does not belong to Nigerian government, and they cannot exercise or continue to exercise an absolute claim over it. So their claim is long overdue. They've done the worst as far as this fund is concerned, because since these funds were liquidated into the country since 2018, they've been using these funds for their own personal nominal interests. They've fixed it. They've been using it to trade and making their gains. So it is high time for IMF, among those that contracted them, that will hear this VN, let them tell them that if they indeed here to help us, if they are in this thing to help us, if there's no continuous behind the scene agreements between them and federal government that favor them, let them take up this case virally, viciously, and make sure that disbursement starts. If they don't do it like that, federal government's representative will still give them a dates, many dates, and flout it. The disbursement will not come to Lamla until November, late November. That is what I got from my coven, my prayer coven. That is when they want to effect disbursement. And see, the people that you are hearing, this fighter fighting another person, this thing is also manipulation. At core, it is what? Manipulation. So they don't do it in their clear eyes, because there is a space, a severely open space in their souls that they are manipulating, turning them against themselves, against the people. Whereas the common enemy, as far as this grand pursuit is concerned, are the people that are holding these funds. The people that keep on fixing dates and flouting the dates are our common enemies. The people that have given these funds to some African countries, by so doing, they committed treasons by failing to start up disbursement in Nigeria. They delegated disbursement to kick off in some 13 other African countries. These people are our common enemies that we're supposed to face, not fighting ourselves. Not Joyce Matthew Hemley, the one you people call your Madam Supreme, that said recently, which Abocheno didn't hear her when she made that nasty utterance, that there won't be anything like disbursement even after election. According to her, she said it is after election that we should come together, all the NGO leaders should come together and join forces with her. Then let's all of us join forces with her and go and prostrate before Tinubu, show Tinubu our readiness to vote him. Hi, God. Now, we've seen hell in this Nigeria, that we should go and show Tinubu our readiness to vote him come next election. Then after showing Tinubu our readiness to vote him, then we'll now go and relax. Aftermath of 2027 election, aftermath of voting Tinubu, then we'll now relax and now wait for Tinubu to now consider our plight and make disbursement to happen. According to Madam Supreme, your Madam Supreme. According to your Madam Supreme, we've seen hell. All of us will unite and go and prostrate before Tinubu. Thank him for enslaving the masses, for making Nigerians, turning Nigeria a previously great nation with great potential to pauper in the Committee of Nations, making Nigeria the poverty capital of the world. They will go and thank Tinubu for his constant aberration on our persons. By denying this generous wealth of nation from getting to us, for committing treason, Tinubu it is on record. It should be on record that Tinubu's government committed the highest form of treason against the Nigerian states by allowing these United African States grant funds to be disbursed in several countries of Africa without allowing it to kick off in Nigeria. It is a treasonable felony of the highest order. So according to Madam Supreme, we will go and prostrate, thank Tinubu for suffering us, for causing many registrants, many people, many CEOs that registered for these grants that died without testing it, many people that are in the hospital suffering all manner of sicknesses due to poverty. Poverty, Tinubu said that there had been poverty before they gave birth to him, that he came into this world and started hearing about poverty. Okay, because of that, Tinubu has nothing to do to rapidly ameliorate the crushing clause, the crushing effects of poverty in Nigeria. So we will go and prostrate to Tinubu according to Madam Supreme. Then after which, then we'll vote for him, get our PVCs and vote for him before Tinubu will now consider us because of what? Tinubu is God. Abocheno that knows how to talk. I also want him to listen to this voice note. He must listen to it. Abocheno that knows how to talk and run courses didn't hear this thing from Madam Joyce before he came out to start talking nasty things, jobless person as he is, started talking nasty things for someone to put Madam Supreme to where she belongs. So these things are manipulations from the darkness that control this nation. Because how would someone in her right senses, which the people that supported you, the people that registered under you, the people that you fraudulently scammed, you took their monies, you robbed Peter to pay Paul. Madam Supreme was collecting money from Nigerians and buying gift items and sharing in the name of philanthropy. So after years of promises of disbursement and failed promises of disbursement from Madam Supreme, if at all Madam Supreme is working with her right senses, would Madam Supreme come up with such kind of postulation? That is to tell you that what is happening to them is not ordinary. And I'm making this voice note to get you delivered from every web of complexities inspired by the rulers of the darkness of this very nation that is tormenting you, making you to be falling victims to their gimmicks, making you to be falling victims and making you to register more grant opportunities after another. Today, you are freed. Today's date is the 9th of August, 2026. I declare you free in Jesus' name. Don't register for their grants again. These ones that you've registered are enough. So help me spread these voice notes, the part 1 and now the part 2 across. Don't listen to them. They don't talk with their clear eyes. Any person telling you to register. Okay, look at when Reverend Moses asked people to register during the course of this week that just passed and said that on or before noon, Thursday, that they should submit all their entries so that it will be forwarded. I told person by my side saying that they are going to extend it. When this Thursday comes, they will extend it to the next week. And when next week expires, they will also extend it. Lo and behold, Omaru Yakubu, according to him, he said that his name is Omaru. Omaru Yakubu had made a VM telling people that the registration subscription can continue. So next week, he will also tell you that there is still opportunity. You will continue to subscribe. If at all you fail to listen to this message and get yourself delivered, you continue to subscribe. And by the ending of this month, if IMF does not do anything radical against the lawless government of Nigeria, they will continue to tell you to subscribe till November. November, they will still tell you to subscribe. So share this VN. Share this VN. There's nothing like come and pray. No, we've gone past that level. God has answered our prayers already. So it is action that is needed. Taking right action. Nigeria government proponents are lawless. So for you to dismantle them, you must be radical in your approach. So the hour has gone. The hour of telling someone to pray. No. We've prayed and we've received results. So IMF must act. Nigerians' assets are scattered in many parts of the world. So the money with the publication UAS leader, the leader of Revitalized United African States, the publication he made in the year 2023 around August, Then he said that the fund, that publication has it that the fund total to what, 4 point something trillion dollars. Yes, they've based on the government stranglehold on the funds, they've shared some, they've given some away. I don't know how much that is remaining, but if IMF will hold them accountable, they will not see the clearer picture on how much that is remaining. So that how much that is remaining, that is taking them years, making it so more difficult for them to bring out. The assets of Nigeria in many parts of the world, in some parts of the world rather, can amount to that amount that is remaining, and the assets will be frozen. And you now see IMF giving the funds to come into here and disburse and go to the remaining African countries to disburse it. This is just simple. Very, very simple. So if you are not part of IMF team, but you are concerned with the plights of the masses hearing this VN, you can help the masses. Connect with people. There are people that oppressors fear. Oppressors, there are people that oppressors fear a lot. Oppressors are not the most fearsome level of people. No, where you see the powers of the oppressors are on the subjects. But there are giants across the world that oppressors fear. So giant activists, giant writers, people, policy formulators, people, politicians from the US, politicians from Israel. These are men and women that oppressors in Nigeria also fear. So let's take these complaints to them. Nigerian assets can be frozen within weeks, and the money just auctioned, and the money given to IMF and other international financial committee that will come and appropriate disbursement for Nigerians. Nigerians have suffered too so much. If you are waiting for federal government to disburse these grants amicably, you will wait till November. Even November, so they are not going to disburse it perfectly. If it is easy for federal governments to not allow this disbursement to take place in Nigeria at all, to give it to IMF or any other body to go and disburse to other parts of Africa without seeing it disbursed in Nigeria at all, they would do it instantly. It's just that it is not easy for them to do. So don't wait, don't continue to play. Solution has been given. Those international friends of ours are the ones that will broker pressure that will make this disbursement disbursed. That will make this fund disbursed. That's all. Your multiple registration, you are just being you've made yourself a perpetual fool or perpetual fools by continuing to register on any grant. You've made yourself, get yourself delivered. Be free from this power laid on you by some facilitators in this government that are calling, telling you to come and register. Tomorrow they will tell you that they don't trust Apostle Ken. They don't trust Theophilus to give them the funds to register, to disburse. If they don't trust them, let them come out and make it public, official. Let them make it an official statement. But they can never do. And if they don't trust them, tell them to take the data of Nigerians that are with Apostle Ken, Apostle Theophilus, and the rest of them, and they disburse to these NGOs directly. It is not when they tell you that they don't trust them and they now say that they trust you. You, a gullible fool, a gullible folk, then you start being happy that you now have contacts, you are connected with the seat of power, that they now trust you to give you these funds and disburse. Have you forgotten what happened to All Grand Pressure Group? They were being called Palace Boys. At the end of the day, what has happened to them? The hunter has become hunted. Be careful and become wiser for once. God bless you. As you see this very voice notes, my name remains Pastor Charles. Share it, let it go viral. Let these voice notes go viral. Let these voice notes go viral. If you want disbursement very, very soon, and it's going to happen like that. In Jesus' matchless name, I've decreed. Amen.